Welcome to Postpartum Unfiltered.
The podcast where we get real about what happens during the postpartum period.
I am Jillian,
And I'm Sara.
and we are two doctor moms who were not prepared for what postpartum would bring.
By sharing your stories, we hope to spread awareness and allow other families to be more prepared for the time after birth.
Sara, it's time for
Hey,
another
Jen.
podcast.
I know, so exciting. I love this.
Yes. What's been new?
Well, I'm trying to plan a girls' trip with my friends from med school,
Oh,
and that's always really interesting when everyone has kids
yeah,
because
yeah.
I want to chill and sit around, and the other one is like out the cage and wants to fly and is like, let's go do all these crazy things. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. I would like to sit down.
Is that
So it's
somebody with only one
hard.
child?
She has three.
Oh my God.
So
Where does she get the energy?
I don't know, but she's ready to just, live her best life, I guess. And I'm like, can I just sit down with like a
Where you
drink?
go? Where are you trying to go?
Dallas.
Oh, why?
One of us. Out of
One
the
of,
three of us from school, one of us lives in Dallas, so we're
oh,
going
okay.
to fly to her because
But isn't that the one with no
we know
kids?
her. She came
Yeah, isn't that the
from
one with no children?
yeah, we're flying to her, yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Because she always flies to us. But the other one the one from New York you saw,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
she has three kids.
Oh Lord,
So she's the one, she's
bless
like, yeah,
her.
we're gonna do this all day. I'm like, I just want to sit down. Too much
Let
planning.
them go. Let them go. You hang back.
I'll let
Hang
you know how
back
that
and see.
goes, where
Yeah,
we
yeah,
end up.
yeah. Totally, totally. Okay, well, I'm really excited about our guest today. So I've got a fun little intro. So she's an Enneagram 7 for anybody who knows what that means, and I would love to hear why that's the first thing she wanted to tell us. But she's an author. She's published a book called Dare to Move in 2018. She's got a background in personal development and business coaching, as well as commercial real estate. She's also done some fitness instruction. She taught at a boot camp for 7 years. She loves to exercise and travel. She's a pilot in training. Everybody, welcome Garrett. Hi, Garrett. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for being here, guy, or thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Clearly,
I'm
I've
excited
had a
to have
day.
you.
Yeah.
We're so excited to have you boot camp. That sounds amazing. Maybe one day I'll do that. So
It's
to
like,
get started, Garrett, is there anything about like your pregnancy or birth that you want to mention how it relates to like your postpartum experience? Do you want to discuss with us today?
For sure. I think, I'll start with where I am right in this moment, which is dealing
Yeah.
with a really intense secondary infertility journey. And I share that because I got pregnant first try. Like I literally thought about being pregnant and I was. And so I kind of had a narrow view on just the ease and joy of pregnancy. I was like, oh, you just like get pregnant and you go to some doctors and like all is well. And that was just a very, I think, innocent and naive experience. My only bumps in the road are that I actually saw three different practices. And the last one that I didn't like any of them. I had some really kind of questionable experiences with doctors, but I was like, I trust my body. I'm healthy, baby's healthy, all is well. And ultimately, my birth was a 4 day long traumatic birth with every single intervention, probably done twice, literally, even my epidural. Um,
Oh,
I was in labor, like I said, 4 days. I pushed for 5 hours and I ended up developing chorioamnitis. But they
oof.
didn't tell me because they said, oh, that'll stress her out. So there's a lot of gaslighting that went on during my birth,
wow.
unfortunately. And I had been pushing for 4 hours, and the doctor said if it was the one doctor that I definitely didn't want to deliver my baby, of
Of
course, came
course.
in at 4 hours, and he was like, he has no bedside manner. Like there's not none, zero. And he
I
goes,
had one of
if
those.
he was like, if this baby's not out in 15 minutes, I'm taking you to C-section. Well, he actually got held up in another C-section. So I ended up having about 45 more minutes. And during those 45 minutes, I got to experience the fetal ejection reflex. My body took over, the baby came out, and thank goodness he was healthy. I kind of came to and realized there were like 10 people in the room. And the first thing I said when they took him for observation is I looked at my husband and I said, I am so sad. And he goes, why? And I said, because I wanted more kids. Because in that moment, I was like, there is literally no way I could go through that again. I felt like a prisoner of war
Yeah.
being aborted with how bad it was. And then after not sleeping for 4 days, which I've never done ever, I'm a great sleeper. I never even pulled all-nighters in college. I had to go home and take care of a baby. And so that set me up. I love your question because it really does show you kind of like how you open the door to postpartum, which is not just, it's not neutral. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really intense. So that's my my long-winded response for you.
Yeah. No, I love it. And you're in good company about the epidurals not working.
Yeah.
We're a ragtag team of
Three
epidural
for three over
failures.
here.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
High fives
didn't
all
work for
around.
us. Yeah, not
All
at all.
issues with the epidurals.
Literally, the only part of my birth plan was epidural.
And your
Didn't
body
work.
was like, no, not today.
Yeah, and also same thing. One of the OBs had a horrible bedside manner, and I was like,
Mm.
when is she on? Because I'm going to hold this baby in as much as I can. So this
It
baby doesn't
matters.
be there. Yeah, it was horrible. The worst bedside I've ever had in my life.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
That's crazy. So
Yeah.
how long were you in the hospital after you gave birth?
I gave birth on a Thursday, and I want to say I went home on a Saturday afternoon. I didn't have any complications outside of just having antibiotics for the chorioamnitis, and my son recovered well. So
That's
pretty
awesome.
quick.
What was it like when you first got home?
So I live in New Hampshire, and my whole entire family is from the Midwest. So I have no family nearby. My husband's parents are a few hours away, but I was like, I don't want anyone that I am not super close with there. But my mom came, and she was literally in the driveway. And in her mind, even though she knew the birth was hard, she had her camera out. She was ready to like film me getting out of the car with the baby. And she took one look at me through the window in the back seat. She literally dropped her phone and opened her arms, and I collapsed into her arms. And she said later on, like a year later, she was like, hey, I've never worried about you. Like I had asthma attacks growing up. She's like, I've never worried about you. And even during your birth, I knew everything was fine. She goes, but when I saw you, I was highly concerned, and I just realized you have been through like basically a war. And so I walked into my mom's care. We gave her the baby, and we walked into my bedroom, and we fell asleep for 2 hours, and she woke us up because the baby needed to eat. So I was very grateful to have her. She stayed for about 10 days. And I think my husband had 4 weeks of paternity leave. He now has 4 months. They changed their policy. So hopefully in the future, that'll be awesome. But we really just leaned on her. We were like a team of three. And then my doula came to check on us 2 days later, and a lactation consultant, which was really nice.
I was breastfeeding. Was that something you always wanted to do from the jump? And what was that like for you?
For me, I just assumed like I'm going to try it and we'll see. But thanks to a lot of vulnerable open shares on social media, I walked into it being like, this could fail, and that's okay. But my pain point is that I went from a not memorable B cup to a double E bra being too tight when I came home from the hospitals. My engorgement was so bad. And unfortunately, I got a lot of conflicting opinions from different lactation consultants at the hospital. So by the time I got home and my milk was coming in, my nipples were completely raw, cracked, and bleeding. And so I didn't really have a place for them to like rest or put the gel pads on because my bras were too tight. My camis were leaving red marks. I was so engorged. So I was like walking around naked, holding pads over my boobs.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is what it is. But I was very grateful that my son latched pretty well. I did use a nipple shield in the beginning, and I was really excited that that even existed. And yeah, it was just, I also swore by the Haka. I think I would collect like sometimes 6 ounces on the side I wasn't feeding on. And then I'd still feed on
Yeah.
that side.
That's
It was
wild.
a lot. Yeah.
How was your body image afterwards? For me, it was really hard to kind of see myself like different.
I'm really like, I don't want to say lucky in the sense that I had an eating disorder in high school and college, and then even thereafter. And I sort of liken it to the movie Shallow Hal, where once I got into incredible shape in my 20s. I spent a lot of time working on my body image and also just getting really strong. So I joke that once I saw myself in the best shape of my life, I could never see myself anything but that. Obviously, it is confronting when you see your body so changed. But my stepmom told me she had a baby 7 years before I did. I have a little brother. And she told me when I was pregnant, she said, whatever you do, don't judge anything. Don't even look in the mirror if you can avoid it for a year. She goes, because I promise you at a year, you're gonna look and feel better than you can imagine now. So don't judge anything. And I just took that as like my Bible. And lo and behold, by a year, I looked and felt amazing. And anything leading up to that was like every day, I just kept going into how do I feel? How do I feel? How do I feel? The only thing that bothered me was just the size and the weight of my boobs. And it wasn't so much body image as far as like, I don't look good or I don't feel pretty. It was, I feel like I have giant tumors on my body that I can't control, that are leaking fluid. And it's just as much work to take care of them as it is, so at times it feels, to take care of my baby. So that was more what I dealt with, was this like growing these extra body parts.
Did you have trouble with latching due to the engorgement?
Yes and no. It really, I think I had to do this very, in my mind, complex football hold with like 17 pillows and a special sweatshirt that was for good luck. And I couldn't
Obviously.
imagine. Yeah, I was like, I don't know how women just whip out a boob at the park or at the restaurant. I'm
It's
like,
magic. It's literal magic.
yeah. So I didn't do that for like 14 weeks. But I was able to do the football hold and figure it out.
Nice. Yeah. So my milk didn't come in right away like yours did. I came home from the hospital, nothing was happening. And 5 days later, I woke up and it was like that. I had like 2 boulders on my chest. They were so painful. I felt like they're going to rupture. Something inside is going to burst. I'm going to end up in the hospital because some duct inside me has burst.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there's like a screaming baby next to you that you're in charge of taking care of.
And I'm like in the shower feeling guilty about cleaning myself, but also trying to use the hot water in the shower to like chill my chest out. And then I'm like, okay, I'll be on in a minute. Yeah. Early postpartum is beautiful, you guys.
Well, for me, I had really bad anxiety, so I don't think I really produced as much as I like should have. But do you feel like, did you have any anxiety postpartum at all, or?
It was really bad for me. I think it was sort of an opening for me to also realize that I probably had undiagnosed anxiety a lot of my life, and I had certain ways of managing it that no longer become available when you have a newborn. So then not only is it increased by the hormonal roller coaster you're going through, but you're also not able to do the things you used to do to manage, which is crazy. But the first way that it showed up is obviously, like I shared, I was sleep deprived the second I came home to become a mom. And then you're doing the feedings. And every time I would feed, my husband would typically swaddle and rock him and put him down. And I would fall asleep. And then I'd have a dream that I fell asleep with him. And I'm digging in the bed, like, like panting. And my husband, like, what's wrong? I'm like, he's in here. And he's like, no, he's not. He's right there. And then like we look, and then I'd like have to like hit myself, like, no, like wake up. Like he is right there. And that was horrifying. And then I want to say about 7 to 14 weeks, I started having some intrusive thoughts, and those lasted a lot longer than I think I would have liked. But I want to say that just general anxiety around maybe potentially irrational things with my son stopped around 2. So it's wild how like it's like a long tail of that experience, and it morphs, or at least it did for me.
Yeah. Same for me. Yeah.
That sounds like the kind of worst type of anxiety to have, that is waking you out of the little bit of sleep that you're getting. And not only waking you, like it's that horrifying waking, the like terror. Yeah, the terror wake. Like who calmly drifts back off to sleep after that?
Yeah. I hope I don't have to go through that again. I would rather have cracked bleeding nipples, I think.
I don't think people talk enough about the things that can happen to your nipples. Like, I've got a blood blister on one of my nipples, and I was like, do I have a tumor? And then I was like, oh no, it's just a pocket full of blood. That's fine. That's really great. I got regular blisters also, but then I got a blood blister on top of that, or around it. It was like a conglomerate of blisters. Yeah. And I felt very similar to the way you did. Like I had like one bra maybe that I could kind of wear sometimes. And I had a lot of leaking because I had one side that I call a super producer. It was making twice as much as the other side. So they were like always leaking. And I remember I could get like pads in a certain way to like soak up the milk, but also prevent the shirt or the bra from rubbing on my nipple. I thought I'd never be able to touch my nipples ever again. Like nothing could ever touch them. Like that's it. They're done. Can we remove them somehow? Because this is terrible.
That part was rough for me because I've always slept in my husband's t-shirts,
Oh,
and
no.
all of a sudden the comfortable t-shirt felt like sandpaper, and
Yeah.
you're like, what do I do? And I actually Googled like, what do you do with extra milk? And I must have phrased the Google like, so they knew I didn't want to catch it. Like I didn't need a catching device or a Hawkeye. I literally just wanted to know like, what should I do to prevent leakage? And it was like, wear comfortable clothes. And I was like,
Thank you.
yeah, like
Thank you.
Any more
It's like I
advice?
have
yeah,
anxiety. It's like, don't be anxious.
yeah,
Yeah.
literally.
You're
I
fine.
was
Thank
like,
you.
that's not, but then it was like, put pads in a bra. I'm like, okay, well, my bra doesn't fit. And also, I don't sleep in bras. I never have. Now, when I'm in the most pain of my entire life in this body part, I'm supposed to sleep in a bra. Like, and then it was like, or you could put cabbage in there in a bra if you're trying to stop your supply. I'm like, I'm not trying to stop my supply. And then the last part in Google was sleep on a towel. So I actually slept on a towel.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
How was that?
Awful.
It's literally terrible.
I went back to the
Thanks,
t-shirt.
thanks for asking. How long did it take for your engorgement to get manageable or under control or however you would phrase it?
Honestly, like maybe 5 months. I feel like
Oof.
I was just constantly battling leakage. My mom had kind of tipped me off to say not only did I have the exact same experience, but I had it with all three kids. So my hopes were not high of it resolving. I just remember I didn't pump at all because I didn't want to increase my supply. And I also was with my son a lot, and I was Hawkeyeing a lot. That's kind of how I would like empty out. But my son stopped breastfeeding. He stopped latching rather on the right. He'd get like fussy. So luckily, I had been given like a hand pump from the hospital,
Mhm.
and I feel like I tried to just like relieve myself that way. But again, it was just I'd be like, okay, well now that I'm pumping at a regular schedule or whatever when he's feeding, it won't get engorged every time, engorged. And actually, I know I went snowboarding at 7.5 months postpartum, and I had to go in early because I was engorged. So
Oof.
I guess maybe it didn't really stop.
Yeah. So the moral of the story is it went
Yeah.
on forever.
I heard the hand pump you can get more out than the motorized. I've never used it, so I only use the
You know,
regular.
I would do it when I was so engorged as like kind of a last result if the haka wasn't getting enough that it seemed like standard to me. But one thing that I did do that I don't really know how and why I did this and where I got the patience, but even with my normal breast pump, I never did both together at the same time. I always only did one side at a time when I started pumping around 6 months, just so I had like if I was working, I work part-time. I would like hand massage while I was pumping one side, and then I would do the other. So it was like a 35-minute experience.
Right.
I don't know why I did that, but I never got a clogged duck, which was nice.
Kind of your instinct almost.
Potentially, yeah. But I did I got carpal tunnel from the hand pump, so that's
Ah,
Oh no.
why.
yeah, I like to hand pump better because I could control the suction. Like the parts didn't fit, the flanges didn't fit me very well, so I found the hand pump more comfortable, not comfortable, but more comfortable than the electric pump. And I couldn't do both at the same time either. I tried, I got one of those little bras, but because they didn't fit me well, I had to like hold them, the
Yeah, so
flanges in place, and
you're
that
not
was
hand.
like, yeah. So I was like, this is a nightmare, but that's fine.
Man.
Crazy what we got there.
I
Oh
know.
yeah. And how we don't have enough information and we just go through and that's how we learn.
Right.
I
Well,
wish
that's why we're here now, right? Because
right.
nobody told me any of this stuff. Nobody
Yep.
told me that like you should get your flanges fit if you were going to
Yeah.
pump, especially if you're going to pump so much, or like what to, I had a lactation consultant in the hospital that was like, yeah, your son's definitely getting milk. And I was like, I really don't think so. My breasts don't feel any different. And lo and behold, I didn't have any milk until 5 days later. So I was like, okay, so he's starving. That's really great.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
It's like
So
they
here
don't
we
tell you.
are.
They don't tell you much of anything. Or also what to expect afterwards, right? Like the anxiety or the depression afterwards. Like you think you're the only person that's experiencing it, or you don't understand like why all of a sudden you feel sad. Like I think I mentioned another episode, Jill, I was telling you that I have like one of my family members is pregnant and they're due in the next couple weeks, and they're like, will I still be able to go to brunch and still be able to have mimosas? And I'm like, how do I? Yeah, but it's a whole different experience. And now you're worried about like, for
A
me at least,
million.
a million things. You're not just like carefree, just I was trying to explain
It's
it to
like a
her.
secret. It's weird. It's like you don't want to be the Debbie Downer being like
Yeah.
horror stories, but you're also like everyone, it's almost like I don't want to say a sick joke, but it's like you're glowing. Let's throw you this beautiful baby shower and get you all of these gifts and then send you to the hospital and then not talk to you for a little bit or come over and ask to hold the baby. It's like how in our
Nobody
culture are
asks
we
you anything.
not having these conversations?
And the
Yeah.
first checkup is like 6 weeks, right? So like what if you're like totally suffering anxiety for those 6 weeks and you don't
Or
even know
something else.
or something else?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's crazy. And I feel like we've talked about this before too, but like we don't decide not to do things because they're challenging, you know, we did a lot of schooling. Garrett, you've done all kinds of stuff and started a business and everything. And you knew it was going to be challenging going into it. And we know postpartum is challenging and we're not telling people.
Yeah.
Why? Because we think people are going to stop having kids. That's not why.
Yeah.
Like, so there's no reason for it to be a big secret. Is it like paying your dues to get into the mom club? That's terrible.
Yeah, no. It's all painted like, I don't know. What's the little, for me at least, was fallacies. Now I'm always like, do you want to really know
Yeah.
what's going
Well,
on?
that's what I mean, I felt the same way about pregnancy. I didn't love being pregnant and it's supposed to be this beautiful, wonderful, glowing time and it's not always like that. And then you feel like, is there something wrong with me because I don't feel the same way that everybody says it's supposed to feel?
Right, right, right.
So that's really great.
But then things like this help people realize like it's not like that. It's actually very common. Everyone has it. Like, I heard today, like someone was in really bad postpartum and they actually listened to our podcast, but she kept crying. Apparently she was like really sad and she actually had a seizure from it.
Yikes.
I've
Didn't
never
know
heard
that.
of that.
Yeah,
I
didn't know
didn't
that
know
could
that you get
happen.
seizures from like severe depression.
I didn't know that.
Well, that's a new horrifying thing
Crazy.
to write on our list.
Well, just some notes out there. Little
Yeah.
blurb.
Yeah. So, Garrett, how was like your getting settled and home, especially after your mom left and like you and your husband settling into being new parents?
He was a rock star. He's amazing. He's so hands-on. I think that's the only reason that I was able to come out on the other side sometimes. Everything from like checking in with me mentally, like all the things. He cooks, he clean, he does everything. And what was really special, and sometimes I get like choked up thinking about it, is my stepmom came at 7 weeks, even though I think my brother at the time was like maybe not even 5. And she said, I'm coming to stay with you for a week. She's like, because by 7 weeks postpartum, everyone forgets about you. And this is when you need it the most. And she came and stayed with us. She cooked for us. I went and got my hair done for the first time. And she was so fresh out of it that she was also like picking up on things that I couldn't even see that he was doing, just like developmental things that she was noticing about him that I was such in a haze of just sleep deprivation that I wasn't able to see. And she kind of helped me like wake up to certain like positive, like milestone type things that she was noticing. And she like would hold him for his naps when he wouldn't go down. So that was an amazing like reprieve for us at 7 weeks because I think and now I'm really sensitive to like when a friend posts like that their baby's 8 weeks old on Instagram, I'm like, hey, how are you doing really? Because
Hmm.
everyone worries about you for a few weeks and then it's like you're off to the races. And I also like my husband and I would kind of joke that we would like be screaming at each other sometimes in the middle of the night, like, I need a diaper. Hey, can you get my nipple shield? I left the hawk in the kitchen. All these things. And the next morning you wake up and you're like, good morning. Like you're like,
Yeah.
that didn't happen last
Yeah.
night. So there's a rule like, you can't be mad at each other for what we said in the middle of the night. But I also going back to the anxiety piece, I was so anxious and so overtired that I was like, we can't do the whole trade situation. Like, I need you to be up with me. We need to do it together every night. I'm going to forget something. So we did every diaper change. And I know that's not for everybody. Some of my friends have taken that advice and they said that it worked really well for them. I know, again, it's not ideal. People like to sleep and take turns. But for me, it was helpful to have like both of us hands on deck together every wake up in the middle of the night. And then once my husband went back to work, I started trying to do most of the ones during the work week, and then he'd help on the weekends. But if I'm being honest, I think most of the time I was still like, hey, wait, hold on. Can you like
Yeah.
so that was kind of, I guess, settling in. And we would do a lot of like afternoon coffees. Like we'd put them into cocktail glasses and like cheers as if we were having drinks, but really it was just splitting a nitro coffee. So
Yeah,
I do
perfect.
love the nitro coffees.
love.
They're the best.
So how long did it take before your son was sleeping through the night?
Oh, he still doesn't sleep through the night. He's 3.5. He's
Oh
the worst
my.
sleeper,
How
worst
are
sleeper
you
in America.
how are you alive right now?
I am not
The
well
nitros.
because
So
yeah, the
nitros,
nitros.
that's the answer to
Nitros.
everything.
Yeah, well, so what happened was then on my secondary infertility journey, about a year in, I was like, maybe I got to cut back the nitros. Well, I don't think it was impacting me as much as I thought because I stopped them and my blood work was fine still. But my husband actually at 2 years, when my son turned 2, my husband started doing all middle of the night wakings, even though, he's the breadwinner, he does finance Monday through Friday. He does everything and he lays in bed with him at night to help him fall asleep. And then last night he went in at 10:30. Sometimes he goes in at 4:30 a.m. if he has to. And also Monday through Friday, my husband works out at 5 a.m., rain or shine, tired or not, 3 wake ups or not, so that by 7 a.m., when my son does wake up, he's done working out and showered so that I have from 7 to 9 when he goes to work. Like he is literally like
That's
everything.
amazing.
That's how and why I think I've been able to build a business, well, continue my old business for a while, start a new business. And also I think that it is scientifically proven that men need more sleep than women. And for my fertility stuff, we're like, look, like he's 41 and I'm 33. And I'm like, we're in that phase of like, well, if we want 2 more kids and it's taken us this weird 2.5 year journey to get pregnant, like we don't know what the other journeys will be like. And so we have to do what we have to do. And he was like, I will do all middle of the night so you can sleep. And that's been amazing. But we tried sleep trainers, we've tried all the things and it just doesn't work for my son. So
My daughter's 15 months and she still doesn't sleep.
yeah.
I'm hoping she'll sleep
A lot of
soon.
people by 18 months, like we had one good stretch of time where he was sleeping in between, I think end of 2 to beginning of 3, but we've never slept more than 8 nights in a row since he was born. It's 8
Oh
nightmares.
my gosh.
It's bad.
Yeah.
I know someone's like, you can hire someone to come to your house and they can sleep train for you. And I didn't know that. And I was like,
Yeah. Our doula offered early, but I was like, he's only 4 months old. Like, it's fine. He's breastfeeding. Like, we don't need that right now. And then at 6 months, she's like, are you sure? And I hired a different person. And my son I'm super into astrology. It's like my favorite party trick, like reading people's charts. He's a
oh, I
Pisces.
love astrology too.
So he's a
Sorry, go
Pisces
ahead.
moon. He's very sensitive and like borderline, I think, psychic at times.
Yeah.
And just he just can't make it through the night. So it's our like maybe in hindsight it's good that we don't have another baby yet because it's just been his journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so interesting with the astrology. And then that reminded me that you wrote that you're an Enneagram 7. So can you tell us more about that?
Oh yeah, please explain.
Yes, and actually it's funny because I think if you know your Enneagram, it'll give you a window into what you'll struggle with postpartum. I did a few TikToks about this actually. So I'm a 7. 7 is the enthusiast. We want to do all the things all the time. We want to wear all the hats. It's perfect for being a founder of a company because you have to do like sales, marketing, accounting, hiring, all of it. And I have a lot of hobbies and interests. I tend to start a lot of things. I don't really get stressed if I don't finish them. So we tend to, have our hands in a lot of things. The downside of being a 7, with our number one value being freedom, is that our limiting belief for our crutch is feeling trapped. That's our issue. So what happened to me when I was postpartum? I felt trapped.
Right.
I can't leave the house. I don't have friends. I travel all the time. I was like, I'm going to go fly alone with my son. I took 32 flights with him alone, but before he was 1, because I wanted to get out and go because I didn't know a lot of people and where we were living at, like we had moved during the pandemic And so you could see that Enneagram 7 like really shining during postpartum, whereas like a 6, they get stuck in their head. So like they're going to be the ones that are on WebMD at 2 a.m. That's what happens when you're 6. Like you overthink, you overanalyze, you are very much looping in the mental more so than most.
This sounds like
A 5 might be more detached. They're the observer. They're more like watching the movie of the life versus playing it. The achiever is going to make their own baby food. They're not going to buy the pouches. Like, so you can really look at your Enneagram to see what you might thrive at and what you might be struggling with postpartum. Obviously, just in life in general, but
Yeah.
I love looking at it with my mom friends. Like, wait, hold on. Do you know your Enneagram?
Yeah. Sarah, do you know yours?
No, I don't. I was about to ask, how
Yeah.
can you figure it out?
The internet?
Yeah, it's a test. Yeah,
The internet.
it's like
something
a
else, a
20,
questionnaire.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a 20 to 30-minute questionnaire, and you just answer with like your initial, like it's like 5 choices, and just the first one that comes to mind, you answer. And yeah, my husband's a challenger. So if I'm like, the bottle warmers are you sure the bottle warmer's on? You know,
Oh
like
man. What number is that?
8, number 8.
Ugh. I
Yeah.
think I'm a 1, a perfectionist. So
Yeah.
that's really great. It's been going so good.
Hard one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not really helped me in any aspects of life, but here we are.
It's probably hard with kids too to be a perfectionist.
Yeah, it's not great, Sarah. That's why we're here. Yeah. It leaves me feeling like I haven't done it right or done it well, or that I'm falling short in
That's a
everything that I'm
reformer.
doing. So
Yeah, that can also be. So the type 1 is the reformer. My brother is a reformer. And just to give it, like, he'll be like, if I don't wake up at 5 and make my bed, like he sets these ridiculous high expectations so that he can manifest that he like failed or that he's not enough. And so
yeah,
if
what's he
they,
doing later? We could talk about it.
you guys can hang.
Yeah.
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 They'll set a lot of expectations for yourself as a 1. And then the type 3 is the achiever. And yeah, the type 2 is like the helper, the martyr. I mean, you can really watch it play out with
Yeah.
your postpartum journey for sure.
Oh, I really am curious now.
Yeah. We're gonna do it after this. We're gonna
Okay,
figure
cool.
you out.
I need to figure out what I am.
Yeah.
Overthinking is definitely me. So
Well, when she said the one that was at the 6 that's going to be on WebMD and Googling it, every symptom I thought of our recording with Sahar, and she was on. So we
oh
did
yeah,
one
yeah.
because one of Sarah's coworkers was the WebMD. Like at 4 a.m, she
Yeah.
was texting the OB, like, "Is it okay that?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
wonder
and
if that's too, yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting because we do some of this stuff to ourselves. Like you said, you're setting these expectations or whatever, or you're looking for these things, and they're kind of manifesting because you've looked for them, and then we're just in this cycle of like, oh, that was
Yeah. The way
good.
my spiritual teacher like kind of frames it is she's like, the context for your life will always be the same. The content's going to change. So like before might have felt trapped in a relationship. Now I feel trapped by a baby. Like
Yeah,
different
Mm.
content. So it just shows
Yeah.
up pretty clearly in
Yeah.
postpartum.
And I think it's hard to say things like that, like this baby is making me feel trapped because they have so many needs, especially like brand new. And we've touched on it before, but like nobody talks about how boring a newborn is, right? Like they don't do anything except cry and poop and eat. And like, yes, they're very cute. Like, yes, they're really snuggly. And you like think back to like, oh, when they just slept on me. But it's like you're just stuck and you can't do anything. Like my older one did a lot of contact naps when he was really young. And I look back and I'm like, yeah, that was cute. But what I remember was from when I was in it was I can't even go pee. I can't eat anything because I have to hold him. Both of my kids hated the carriers. So like that was the big solution, from everybody. Put them tie them to your chest. No, they hated that. And so you can't like hold their little head and pull your pants down at the same time. I actually did manage it once, but I couldn't get my pants back on. So that's the sight for sore eyes
over there.
Yeah.
Walking around pantless.
So, Garrett, was your experience postpartum and like the breastfeeding and all of that inspiration for your entrepreneurial adventures at all?
Yes. So I had started a coaching business. I had been running it for, I think it was probably 7 or 8 years by the time my son was born. And all was well. I was making my own hours. Clients were coming word of mouth. It's kind of the dream. And with all the diapers I was changing while dripping milk down my body onto the floor, I was like, I want a diaper for my boobs. Why does this not exist? Why do we get sent home from the hospital with these adult diapers for down there, but not for our boobs? Like, I'm a super leaker. Like, I need this. And I sat on the idea for a long time, not a long time, but like from 12 weeks postpartum till 18 months postpartum. And then I was like, I have to do this. I have to try. And if I fail, I fail, but it's important to me. And I jokingly said to my husband, I'm not having another baby until I invent the nipple diaper. Like, that's what we call it.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Well, the funny part is the bra's launching in January. It was supposed to be November, but cargo delays. It's launching in January and I'm not pregnant yet. So that I'm like, oh, wow, you have to be really careful with what you say because it will manifest. But
Right.
we set off to invent that. I had no connections to manufacturers. So obviously it's been a long 2-year journey, building a team, raising money, all of that. And in the meantime, we've come up with other products that are just as innovative and sustainable and purposeful and mess-free. And it's all been informed by my postpartum journey and the pain points that I had for sure.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
That's really cool too. And I hope
Yeah.
that you'll be able to use them when your second journey. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, that's super exciting. So it's launching this upcoming January?
Yes, January is when the nipple diaper will launch. We have a organic, non-toxic, we call it nip gloss. It's a nipple balm.
Oh, that's awesome.
I accidentally got dip nails. I had never had them, and you can't really clip them. They're like thick.
Yeah.
And I came home and I'm dipping my finger with this long nail into a nipple balm jar. It's under my nail. I have gunk on my nails. I'm wiping it on like burp cloth. I'm holding the baby. So I'm like, you need to be able to open it one-handed. You need to be able to glide it on. It needs to be non-toxic. It needs to be organic. Like, why has no one done this? It should not be this hard. And so that was our first product that we launched last year as sort of, obviously I didn't start the company to invent nipple balm, but for me, it embodies just our mission and what we're trying to do, which is reduce mess and stress so you can better bond with your baby. Because when you're in pain, you're not thinking about the snuggly newborn. You're thinking about when can I go take care of my chafed nipples.
Right.
Really smart.
Yeah. Because I was thinking about, okay, just manifest the strength to not start crying when you have to feed this baby because he's gonna chomp on your nipples again, which are already bleeding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
That's awesome. I'm so excited. And we'll put all that information in the show notes so people can check it out and learn more about that and your company and all the stuff that you're doing. And I'm so excited. Is there anything else about your postpartum experience that you want to share?
I think just making sure you have a community around you or have someone coming to check on you. Like there was a moment where just knowing the lactation consultant was coming 2 days later was like a life raft that I knew was coming. So make sure you have support.
Yeah,
I agree with
that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your time, Garrett. We're really glad that we got to sit down and have this chat and learn about nipple diapers.
And a necklace. It'll be my number is. I'm going to learn that.
Yeah. We're going to look that up after that. We'll get back to you. We'll put that in the show notes too.
Amazing. Thank you guys.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Postpartum Unfiltered.
If you enjoyed the show, please like, share, comment, or leave a review.
You can follow us on Instagram at postpartum.unfiltered.
If you feel called to share your postpartum experience, please contact us on Instagram or at drjilliancampbell.com.